Hi, Mrs. L from the Mattituck Laurel Library. Today we're going to share another David Shannon book, but this time, what is that duck doing? Duck on a tractor. I hope you all enjoyed Duck on a Bike. And if you remember at the end of that book, we saw a picture of something. So now we're going to read Duck on a Tractor. And again, thank you to Scholastic for letting us read this. Just as with his illustrations from the last book, this book, they take up the entire page, and I want you really to look at the perspective and look at all of the expressions. They're just absolutely wonderful. So let's get started with Duck on a Tractor. Now take a look. Here we have the nuts and bolts, which is important to the tractor, correct? There he is with his bike. So he's looking up, thinking, I rode a bike. Let's try a tractor. Down on the farm, Duck sometimes got wild ideas. One day he decided he could ride a bike, so he did. Then he spotted the tractor. I bet I can drive a tractor, he said. The other animals weren't so sure, but they all said, well, if he can ride a bike, maybe he can drive a tractor too. Look at that. Now, if you remember a bike, he was contemplating it. Now he's got his hands on his hips like, this can't be that difficult. Duck climbed on the tractor and looked around. He pulled some pedals, pushed some pedals, and wiggled a metal stick, but nothing happened. Then a shiny piece of metal by the steering wheel caught his eye. He pulled it out, pushed it in, then he turned it. All of a sudden, the tractor shook, coughed, and rumbled, and it began to move. At first, it moved slowly, and then it jerked a bit, but it was fun. Duck drove around the barnyard until he got the hang of it. Then he stopped in front of the other animals. Climb on, everybody, shouted Duck. Dog was first. He jumped right up next to Duck. Woof, said Dog. But he thought was, we're going for a ride. To everyone's surprise, Cow clambered on next. Moo, said Cow. But what she thought was, this is the silliest thing I've ever done. Pig and Pig took a seat in the back. Oink, said Pig and Pig. But what they thought was, it sure beats walking. Then came Chicken, Mouse, and Goat. Squawk, said Chicken. But what she thought was, last one in is a rotten egg. Squeak, said Mouse. But what she thought was, I can see everything from up here. Ma, said Goat. But what he thought was, I'm hungry. Does a garbage dump have a drive-through window? Look where Chicken is. And there's Goat. Pig is like, oh, I don't know if that's a good spot. All on the tractor. Next up were Horse and Cat. Cat jumped up gracefully onto the tractor. Horse, not so much. Meow, said Cat. But what she thought was, I was going to take a nap, but this should be very interesting. Nay, said Horse. But what he thought was, I think I'd rather walk. When you see them all, look at Horse's face. There's Cat. Horse is just not sure about this whole tractor deal. The only one left on the ground was Sheep. Bah, said Sheep. But what she thought was, oh, this is much too dangerous. Oh, get on, Sheep, everyone shouted. But Sheep wouldn't budge. So Duck started driving away without her. Wait, said Sheep. Don't leave me here all alone. She ran after the tractor and took a flying leap onto it. Quack, yelled Duck. But what he thought was, wahoo! Look at, there's a flying sheep. Duck steered the tractor down the lane and out onto the main road. And before long, they were driving right through the middle of town. It was lunchtime, so most people were in the diner. They all looked up when Duck and the other animals passed by the big window. Now look at, they're in the diner. Can you see them in the diner? Can you imagine if you were eating lunch and that's what you saw? A little boy named Edison was having lunch with his grandma. "Did you ever?" his grandma gasped. But what she thought was, "A duck on a tractor? That's impossible." "That's totally awesome," Edison shouted. But what he thought was, "No one's going to believe this." Marcine, the waitress, looked up from her pad and noticed Cat. "Heavens to Betsy," she exclaimed. What she thought was, I like cats. Deputy Bob blundered, "If that don't beat all." But what he thought was, how am I going to explain this to the sheriff? So here they all are. They don't really know what to do. Did they really see a duck on a tractor and all those animals? A man named Otis chimed in. "I must be seeing things." But what he thought was, oh no, not again. "Holy cow," hollered Manny the cook. But what he thought was, holy cow. Manny usually said exactly what he thought. The mayor almost choked on his pie. "Good gravy," he sputtered. But what he thought was, those pigs are even fatter than I am. Corky just whistled. But he thought was, that duck is smarter than he looks. Gwen came out of the restroom. "Would you look at that?" she exclaimed. But what she thought was, I can't see a thing without my glasses. Farmer Odell observed, "Hey, that's a dang nice tractor." But he thought was, hey, that's my tractor. Look at his face. That's my tractor. What the heck? He decided he'd better go after it and ran out the door, and everyone else ran out too. Then they chased after him. Look at that mob, all running out of the diner. By this time, Duck had turned onto the next street. The tractor sputtered to a stop. Duck tried turning the shiny little piece of metal again, but nothing happened. "I don't know much about spelling," said Duck, "but I think that E means it's the end of your ride." Sheep cleared her throat. She said, "I think we might get in trouble for this." "Well, let's get out of here," yelled Duck, just as Farmer Odell and everyone from the diner came around the corner. What do you think E stands for? Look at this picture. Do you remember from Duck on a Bike all the animals? Now look at all the people. Everyone burst out laughing. They all said, "It couldn't have been." "It was an optical illusion," exclaimed Otis. Farmer Odell said he must have left his tractor running by accident. "Well, I guess that explains it," Deputy Bob agreed. Then they all went back to the diner to finish their lunch. And no one ever admitted that on that day they had seen a cow, a goat, a cat, a dog, a sheep, a chicken, a horse, 2 pigs, a mouse, and a duck on a tractor. Do you see all of them? The end. Duck on a tractor. Thank you again for recommending and requesting that we read David Shannon. Keep your requests coming. As long as we can read them and get permission from the publisher, we will. Have a great day. See what you see today outside. See if you see a duck on a tractor. And keep reading.